Oregon State at Arizona. Weird line, right? Oregon State
Yeah.
minus 3.5. Arizona has found themselves in games that everybody felt like they had no business being in this year. Um, Namely USC, the USC game that was earlier this year. Um, this is a decently well-rounded Arizona football team. They play complementary football, and they're pretty good against the run, as we discussed before this video started. But Oregon State is good at running the football. And I think Oregon State has got one of the best rush blocking offensive lines in the game right now. They fire off, they hit you, and they are massive. It's like a bunch of Kenmore refrigerators firing off and smacking you. I mean, they're just huge. Um, I don't think Arizona is going to be able to stand up physically to this Oregon State team, but they've been good against the run. What can I say? But then again, Arizona also gave up 31 points to Mississippi State earlier this year. Now, I think the team has grown a lot since then, but 31 points to Mississippi State. Let me tell you something. Mississippi State scored 7 points last week against Arkansas. Okay. So that's not looking good. The transitive property there not looking good for Arizona. I'm about to pull up their schedule because I wanna for everybody, I want to see who all they've played and let's talk about some of these scores because that can kind of tell us some things. So they started the year off Northern Arizona 38-3 they won. Lost to Mississippi State in overtime 31-24. They beat UTEP 31-10. Beat Stanford 21-20, beat them by 1 point. Lost to Washington 31-24. There's one of those games I was talking about. They found themselves in. They shouldn't have been in. Lost to USC in overtime 43-41, 2-point conversion situation. And they beat the ever living bejesus out of Washington State.
Yeah.
That's the last thing that we saw from them on October 14th as they went into a bye week. And now they're back to face Oregon State. So I think that there is a consensus among bettors that Arizona is a team that's going to spoil somebody's time eventually. And I'm not so sure this is the spot right here. I want to go more into the numbers and I'll give you my pick. So why don't you take us through those numbers and tell us kind of what your line of thinking is in this game and what's the keys to victory for these teams?
Yeah. When you talk about Arizona, you got to realize that this is a team that's been doing more as of late than they started the season. Mark just went through their schedule and kind of what they've done this year. But when I look at Arizona, I look at a team that's on defense. They're really good at stopping the run. Defense typically is week to week pretty consistent. So when they're paired with a strong rushing offense, let's see how that holds up. I'll just say that. Now, of all the teams that you mentioned, I don't think one of them is a really strong rushing football team. Not as strong as Oregon State. So I kind of expect that rushing defense number, that ranking to creep up a little bit, and the 3.04 yards per attempt to creep up to maybe like a 3.4 or something like that after this game. I do think that Oregon State's going to have they're going to be effective running the football, and that really they've got the opportunity to pass against Arizona as well, as Arizona's averaging 236.9 yards per game given up through the air, and DJU has had a pretty successful season so far by his standards throwing the football. And so I think that Oregon State, if they can establish that run game and then start hitting on some play action and going over the top, they should have the opportunity to do that. And that will be the key to them winning the game. On the opposite side of the football, you've got Arizona, and they're going to have to find some ways to go deep. They got to find Coleman open. They got to find Cowing open, who I think is a really good wide receiver. receiver for Arizona. And if that happens, if they're able to get some plays at home, it's a night game. It's this is the Pac-12 at dark football game. This is the one that you're going to be locked away locked away in your man cave at night, blinds shut. um you're in your pajamas watching this game with a cup of coffee, trying to stay up to get it all in, because I do think it is going to be a good game. I think Vegas knows what they're doing with this line. A lot of people are probably going to be looking to put money on Oregon State in this one. But Arizona is a tough team, and this could be the game that they finally get over the hump and win. It's going to take some turnovers. It's going to take some bounce of ball going their way. But they're certainly talented enough to do it. And I would look to see Cowan get like 12 catches or something like that for 160 yards and 2 touchdowns. And that would be a way that Arizona could win this game. But outside of that, the Wildcats are pretty good offensively, and they've got some weapons that they can find some yards on the ground. And they play balanced football. Both of these teams do, and that's why it should be a pretty close game. But I do think that Arizona State, or excuse me, Oregon State has been a little bit too good. So for me, I'm going to go with Oregon State to win and cover this game. I'm staying away from the over under. This could be one of those Pac-12 specials where 80 points are scored. Like, you really don't know. It could end up being a 40 to 44 game. If you really like that, maybe go ahead and bet the over, but I would warrant against that, as these are two pretty good defenses. So that
Yeah.
definitely gives me some pause.
Yeah, I like the under. As I look at it right this second, I'm gonna kind of look more at it as the week goes on, and that kind of reminds me to remind you all to tune in on Friday night at 8 p.m. We've got our it's like our best bets show of the week, but we call it Between the Lines because I mean it's a nice play on words. You get it right. Um,
Yeah, I get
Between
it.
the lines is it could be on the football field, the Vegas lines. You got to read between the lines. Get it, get it, get it. Okay. That's at 8 p.m. on Fridays. That's whenever we've had a chance to really comb through these numbers, let the numbers settle. Some of them need to settle. Some of them you want to settle before you make your bet. You want to be a good better. You want to be a smart better. Um, and we want to help you do that. So tune in on Friday. I think if Arizona, the kind of a key to victory here, you've got to it all starts with the run game. You have to be able to run the football, and you gotta be able to stop the run. That's what it's gonna take to win this football game because Oregon State, the run game is the straw that stirs the drink. DJU is rendered useless without a run game that is proper, okay? And I'm not saying that Arizona can stop Oregon State and stone them. I'm not saying that. But if they can limit them, that's going to really affect the deep shots and the play action that DJU and this Oregon State team and Jonathan Smith like to play. That's what they do. They run, they run, they run, play action, long pass. Okay. Um, so that's going to be, I think, kind of a point of contention in this game, and where the tables could turn if Arizona can put their best foot forward in this game.